project is titled In the Shadows of Giants. It is a collection of poems and short stories depicting a few of my experiences as a female combat veteran. Today, I will be reading the preface and one short story included in my collection. Preface. In a divided climate, driven by emotions and opinions, I was hesitant to tackle this project. I knew that it could be used to further a multitude of ideas, and that by putting these stories on paper, I was opening the door to various interpretations. Before I begin, there are a couple of points that I would like to clarify. I have nothing but the utmost respect for every man that I served with. I do not fault them for the environment and culture that shaped my experiences as a soldier. While I may not have always been welcome into their social circle, I never once doubted that they would fight by my side on the battlefield. In my entire life, the safest that I have ever felt was sleeping on a camp in the middle of a war zone amidst a team of Special Forces soldiers and seasoned infantrymen. They joined the Army to do a job, and they were damn good at it. If I had wanted a fluffy career, there were countless other options available. I chose the military, and I am not a victim. It is also important to note that I served with many open-minded men that mentored and supported me and gave me the opportunity to experience a number of the stories that are written in this book. Without them, none of this will be possible. Also, I am only one soldier. My experiences are mine alone, and every soldier has their own stories to tell. All perspectives are different, and I do not speak for any individual or group other than myself. So please, put biases aside. Come in with an open mind and explore the snapshots of my experiences as a woman in combat. Section 2. Deployment. Story title, First Firefight. Join the Army, they said. I mumbled through gritted teeth as sweat poured down my face and dripped into the green scarf around my neck. You'll do great things for your country, they said. I gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles as I placed every ounce of effort into gazing forward and avoiding the cliff-like ledge immediately beside me. It was the first day of a mission. We were convoying to a village that we had visited before. I had been assigned to my usual post on the rear gun in the truck, but as soon as we were closing in on our destination, one of the UTVs decided to bite the dust. It came as no surprise. Everyone knows that it isn't a real mission if at least one vehicle didn't break down. We had one final mountain standing between us and the target village, so to save time, some of the Green Berets took off ahead of the rest to make contact while those who remained hiked and drove the rest of the trucks up the mountain to different overwatch positions. Left behind to deal with the vehicle were some infantrymen, the mechanic, and of course, my partner Grace and me. The UTV had no intentions of being fixed that day, so after the mechanic gave up, we rigged it to the back of a Humvee to pull it the rest of the way up the mountain. I took the driver's seat, under strict instructions to return to my truck if at any point we started taking contact. I pulled my scarf over my nose in what would be a futile attempt to block the dust cloud I would soon be enveloped in. Time was of the essence, as we had used up more than we should have waiting to see if the mechanic could get the job done. The infantryman in the driver's seat of the Humvee, Abel, turned around and made eye contact. Ready? Sure. Don't kill me. My partner sat in the passenger seat of his vehicle, and the mechanic and another dude hopped in the back. Abel hit the gas, and immediately my efforts were fully focused on keeping the UTV from flying off the narrow path and rolling down the mountainside with me inside. The sun was hot, the dust cloud was no joke, and within a few moments I was squinting furiously as we sped up the trail and I swerved my way around all the rocks that could have easily destroyed the UTV's small tires. After an eternity, Grace yelled to me that we were getting close. I was thankful, because at that point my fingers were going numb from gripping the wheel so tightly. I continued to curse silently to myself when we heard the unmistakable sound of gunshots in the distance. The Humvee screeched to a halt, and I looked up to see that we were right below the crest of the mountaintop where the rest of the convoy waited on the other side. Knowing that my original position on the rear gun was likely empty in my absence, I jumped out of the UTV and ran up the remainder of the mountain at full speed with my M4 in one hand, shouting an apology to the driver of the Humvee as I passed. He waved me on, knowing that it was more important for me to be on the gun. Gasping for air as I reached the summit, I saw the front of my truck tucked in the ridgeline. I glanced around to be sure that I would have cover, then darted the remaining distance to where Alec, the leader of my truck, was crouched beside the tire. Where's it coming from? Straight ahead. See that clot right there? They're shooting both at us and at our guys down near the village. We're calling for air support now. A bullet hit the dirt a few feet from us, kicking up dust and causing Alec and I to lean closer to the tire. Got it. I'm on it. I took a deep breath and, maintaining as low of a profile as I could, dashed to the rear of the vehicle. I hopped in as quickly and gracefully as I could with all my gear, and felt both a sense of comforted relief and victory as I grabbed the M240 and swiveled it around to face the clot. My friend Chase was shooting the 50 cal directly above my head, and I waited for a pause in his burst to fire off my own rounds. We volleyed back and forth, laying suppressive fire as the team that had gone down closer to the village successfully withdrew and returned to us. I was unsure which was more nerve-wracking, to watch the bullets hit the area surrounding my truck, or to feel the reverberations from the 50 cal barrel being fired mere inches from my head. Every time Chase fired, I could feel my brain vibrating in my skull, and I briefly wondered if there was a possibility of going deaf from this type of exposure. Regardless, I fully trusted Chase's ability not to make an inch of a mistake that would splatter my brains throughout the truck and the surrounding area. By the time we heard the chopper overhead, we had already done a decent amount of damage to the suspected targets. "Time for the show, boys," came over the radio from one of the guys as the helicopter closed in on the coordinates. The bomb was dropped, and we watched as a clot exploded into a pile of dust. The radio was full of whoops and cheers, and then silence as everyone paused and scouted the area and surrounding terrain for any possible threats or survivors. Once the threat was determined to be gone, or rather, burned to hell, we started the process of cleaning up the fight. Luckily, none of our personnel had been injured. Our partner forces swooped in on our trucks to collect the spent brass. It was a system that everyone was happy with. Nice for us, because it meant that we didn't have to spend time cleaning up the mess, and nice for them, because they could make a good chunk of money by selling the metal. 2 of the Afghan soldiers brought a burlap sack to my truck, and as they collected the brass, they pointed at me, smiling and punching their fists in the air victoriously while shouting in Pashto. The team's interpreter was nearby, and when I looked in his direction, he was also smiling. "What the hell are they going on about?" I asked suspiciously. The Terp laughed. "They've never seen a woman shoot a gun before, much less a machine gun in a firefight. They're cheering you on." I looked back at the 2 soldiers, who were still smiling at me and punching the air, doing an odd little victory dance in between picking up the pieces of brass. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to respond with the slightest smile and the smallest move of my fist, which was instantly met with excited hoots and hollers. I laughed as I shook my head, and turned away, returning to the task at hand. After we sorted ourselves and got everything together, I walked back down to the UTV that I had previously left. The adrenaline was just beginning to wear off as I once again grabbed the steering wheel. Abel and my partner had already regained their positions in the Humvee. "How was it?" Abel asked with a smile. "Freaking awesome. Now let's get this broke mess home."